Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're cracking open your sources today, going to pull out the most, well, mind-blowing nuggets of knowledge. Get ready, because we're taking a trip back to early medieval England, and what we're about to uncover might just shatter what you thought you knew.
Yeah.
When you picture that time, your mind probably jumps straight to, Angles, Saxons, Jutes, right?
Right, a standard picture.
Well, prepare for a complete reshuffle of that image, seriously.
Indeed. This deep dive, it focuses on a truly remarkable discovery. We're talking groundbreaking DNA analysis of two individuals, completely unrelated, buried back in 7th century AD cemeteries down on England's south coast.
7th century.
And what these genetic clues revealed is pretty astonishing. Both had recent ancestors, likely grandparents, from West Africa.
From West Africa.
Yeah.
In 7th century England. Okay, let's unpack this. That's incredible.
It really is.
So the big question is, how could individuals with West African ancestry possibly end up there then?
Yeah.
And what does their story, this astonishing story, reveal about a period we thought was, well, maybe a bit more straightforward?
Exactly.
Our mission today is to explore how this new genetic insight reveals a far more cosmopolitan, more interconnected early medieval England than we might have ever imagined.
It really paints a different picture.
Traditionally, our understanding of, the population back then, it's been dominated by this idea of large-scale migration from continental northern Europe.
Right.
Those Angles, Saxons, and Jutes we just mentioned.
Yeah.
But as your sources really illuminate, the extent of movement from further afield,
Right.
well, that was far less clear.
And this is exactly where archaeogenetic research, that's basically archaeology meeting genetics, provides these revolutionary new insights.
Right.
It allows us to actually identify individual migrants, people who moved, and even trace their family lines across generations. It's powerful stuff. So researchers from several universities, they performed DNA analysis on individuals from 2 7th century AD cemeteries, one called Updown in Kent, and another, Worth Matravers, down in Dorset.
Okay, Kent and Dorset. And what's fascinating here, I gather, is while most people buried there had the expected ancestry, Northern European or maybe Western British and Irish,
Which were prevalent then, yeah.
one person at each of these cemeteries had this recent ancestry from West Africa.
Exactly. One at each site. And specifically, their mitochondrial DNA, that's the stuff inherited just from the mother down the maternal line,
Right.
that was Northern European, typical for the region. However, their autosomal DNA, which you inherit from both parents, the bigger picture, that showed clear, unmistakable signs of non-European ancestry, with links, strong links, to present-day Yoruba, Mende, Mandenka, and Isan groups. These are groups from sub-Saharan West Africa.
Wow, specific groups.
Yeah, quite specific. So this points to a genetically and geographically mixed descent. It suggests both individuals had one paternal grandparent from West Africa.
So through the father's side.
Through the father's side, exactly. And this is powerful because it highlights the movement of people, not just objects or trade goods.
Right. It challenges that whole idea. It wasn't just fancy pots moving around, but actual individuals living their lives.
Precisely. It tells us the past was far more fluid, more interconnected on a human level than we've often imagined.
It's incredible that genetics can tell us so much about where they came from. But what about their lives there? What did the burial sites actually reveal about these two individuals and the communities they were part of? Because we're looking at two really different places, aren't we? Kent and Dorset.
Very different. Yeah, let's start with the Updown Cemetery in Kent. As Professor Duncan Sayer notes in the sources, Kent has historically been this sort of conduit for influence from the continent nearby.
Right, geographically close.
Especially marked in the 6th century. And Updown itself, it was located near Finglesham, which was actually a royal center back then, so an important place.
Okay, so a significant location. And the individual found there, what did their burial tell us? Any clues in the grave itself about this extraordinary background?
Absolutely. The individual found here was a subadult female, estimated age about 11 to 13 years old.
Young.
Very young. And her grave contains several intriguing items. There was a biconical pot that's a sort of two-cone shape, possibly imported from Frankish Gaul.
So modern France or Germany, maybe?
Roughly, yes. There was also a spoon. Now, that could indicate Christian faith or perhaps connections to the Byzantine Empire way off to the east. And also a bone comb and a knife. Quite a collection of things.
That really is fascinating. It's like a little snapshot, almost like a time capsule of a well, a diverse life, isn't it?
It feels that way, and her genetic family history from that Updown cemetery is also pretty striking.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, they identified her maternal grandmother, her maternal aunt, and even her maternal great-grandfather in nearby graves, right there in the same cemetery.
Wow, so her mother's family was established there.
Exactly, which further confirms that her West African ancestry had to come through her paternal line, her father's side.
Got it. That makes sense.
And these eclectic objects she was buried with, like the comb you mentioned, they're discussed in the sources as potentially reflecting her diverse ancestry, maybe societal norms around appearance. One source even draws this really powerful parallel to modern experiences of, like, hair and identity.
That's thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Suggesting how personal items could reflect complex identities even back then.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's the young woman in Updown, Kent. But the story doesn't end there, does it? We have this other case from Dorset, a very different region.
Totally different context. Dr. Ciridwin Edwards describes Dorset as sitting more on the fringes of continental influence. Archaeologically, there seems to be a marked cultural divide from the more Anglo-Saxon-influenced East.
So less connected to the continent, maybe holding on to older ways?
Possibly. Burials there were more in line with continuing late Roman practices, it seems.
Interesting. And the individual found there?
This was a young male, aged somewhere between 17 and 25. He was buried in a double grave.
With someone else?
Yeah, alongside an older male who had local British ancestry. And quite fascinatingly, this older man's head was resting on a very rare anchor made of local limestone.
An anchor. A limestone anchor. That certainly hints at something maritime, doesn't it?
It really does. You picture maybe a connection to the sea.
Yes.
Right.
So since they weren't closely related biologically, what was their connection? Did the sources speculate?
Yeah, the sources suggest maybe a work relationship or some kind of social kinship, like an apprentice and master, perhaps.
Oh, okay. Like a guild connection or something similar?
Possibly. It really grounds this incredible genetic discovery in a human story, you know? But what's truly significant about both individuals, the girl in Kent, the young man in Dorset, despite their different locations, different burial styles, is the fact that they seem to have been buried as, well, typical members of their communities. There's nothing marking them out as other in the burial rites themselves.
No. So this isn't just about them being there. It's about acceptance, integration.
Exactly.
That fundamentally reshapes how we think about identity and belonging in early medieval England, doesn't it?
Right.
It suggests that, despite origins potentially thousands of miles away, these individuals were truly part of the social fabric, not just outsiders passing through.
Absolutely. It's a powerful insight into maybe the flexibility of early medieval social structures we hadn't fully appreciated.
When I first read about this, I have to admit, my mental image of early medieval England was much simpler. Mostly Anglo-Saxons, very little else.
It's a common image, yeah.
But these discoveries, they just completely flip that on its head. It adds this whole new dimension to how we understand long-distance movement, demographic interaction involving Britain way back then.
It really does. And the estimated admixture dates for their West African ancestry. That's basically scientists trying to figure out when that West African DNA first mixed into the European gene pool for these families.
Right, the timing.
It points towards their ancestors likely leaving the southern Sahel region, that's south of the Sahara, probably between the mid-6th and early 7th centuries. So roughly 550 to 6-something AD.
Okay, and that timing is significant.
Well, yeah, because this period aligns with the Byzantine Empire's control of North Africa after they'd reconquered it from the Vandals.
Ah, okay, so a major power shift happening in North Africa around that time.
Right, which might have created, new dynamics, new opportunities, or reasons for movement.
It's easy to jump to conclusions about why people moved such long distances back then. Often we think conflict or maybe enslavement. Do the sources give any hints about the nature of this migration? Was it voluntary, opportunistic, or something else?
That's a really important question, and the sources are careful here. While firm archaeological evidence for, say, large-scale trans-Saharan gold trading really ramps up later, historical accounts do show North Africa was absolutely critical to the earlier Roman Empire, and African troops, auxiliaries, served all across the Roman Empire, including Britain, much earlier.
Right, there's that history too.
And then Byzantine cultural influence, their sort of prestige, it reached even distant England. We find things like Byzantine coins, evidence of Byzantine costume fashions turning up in Anglo-Saxon graves.
So connections existed.
Connections definitely existed. And the sources suggest for these individuals, it was more likely Opportunistic movement along important trade routes rather than large-scale enslavement, at least at this early date.
Yeah.
It highlights the diverse reasons people might have traveled.
Opportunistic movement.
Hmm.
That implies choice, agency,
Hmm.
which is a powerful idea in itself.
It is. And it's not just about trade or imperial connections either, is it? These genetic links, they kind of resonate with broader cultural things happening at the time.
Like what?
Well, you mentioned the sources. The Old English epic poem Exodus, for example, it actually imagines African women sharing liberated Egyptian gold with the Israelites after crossing the Red Sea.
Really? So Africa was present even in their literature, their imagination.
In their worldview, yeah. And historically, we know of figures like Abbott Hadrien. He was an African scholar, originally from North Africa, who came to England in the later 7th century with Archbishop Theodore.
Right, I've heard of him. Didn't they establish the school at Canterbury?
Exactly. They played a fundamental role in establishing Christianity and learning in England. So this shows how African connections were already being woven into the cultural and religious fabric, even at elite levels.
So the DNA findings, while startling, maybe fit into a context that was already perhaps more connected than we realized.
I think that's a fair way to put it. Ultimately, this study really emphasizes the truly cosmopolitan nature of England back then. A diverse population, people with far-flung connections who were, nonetheless, it seems, fully integrated into daily life, into social structures. They even adapted kinship concepts, maybe like that apprentice master idea, to accommodate new kinds of relationships.
It completely redefines what we might think of as early English, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
So wrapping this up, what does this all mean for you, listening right now, someone curious about history? This deep dive, I think, it reveals that early medieval England was far more interconnected, far more diverse than our traditional stories often suggest. It pushes us to question those old assumptions about the past and really to appreciate the complex, multifaceted tapestry of human history. It wasn't simple.
Not at all. And the discovery of these two individuals, the girl in Kent, the young man in Dorset, with their West African ancestry, it isn't just an isolated factoid, it's a powerful human link. It expands our whole understanding of globalization or interconnectedness in a time we often think of as being quite insular or cut off.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds us that humanity's story has always been one of movement, migration, and connection across vast distances.
Always.
And it leaves us with a really provocative thought, doesn't it? What other surprising ancestries, what other hidden stories might ancient DNA reveal next? How else might it redefine our understanding of past societies and their intricate global connections?
That's the exciting part. We're just scratching the surface.